I want to do 2 shots before we get started.
There's more some hair on his chest.
I know, shot, whiskey number 1. It's been a good day at work.
Now open up the hatch, let it out. Bottoms up. Burn the hole. Just spilling it, dude.
Oh boy.
Waste the freaking liquor.
That was cool. Okay, what's up, y'all?
Congratulations, you'll probably have to get out.
What a good day at work.
You'll probably grow some hair and you'll say, oh, look, the hair's already growing on your chin.
Yeah, hair growing on my chin, hair on my chest. That's all good.
Listen.
So, yeah, today was a good day at work, made some good money. Here we're talking about nerd stuff.
Today we're kind of off script. We're going to be jumping topic to topic because we did not build a little bit of a list to go over things.
This is very last minute, kind of. Like, I was like, hey, you want to be at Action Burger today? Yeah, okay.
I was like, oh, hey, you going to be there? Want to do a video? I'm like,
yeah.
I'm working today. I'm like,
it's not going to be a long video.
I'm doing school stuff today. Let's get over there.
It's not going to be a long video. It's not going to be like 2 hours long. It'll be like an hour, but, you know.
No,
but
he's wrong. He means to say 3 hours.
Yeah, but I'm getting into a new universe in comic books.
What universe?
Graphic novels, the Inkle. I'm getting into the Inkle, which is written and co-created by Alejandro Jodorowsky, who is
the author,
the writer of the Inkle and the Meta Barons.
Nope.
And no, he tried to make Dune back in the 70s. He tried to make the Dune movie. It never got made because the studio was afraid he was going to go way over budget, and he wanted to make the movie like 20 hours long, which nobody in Hollywood is ever going to say yes to that, especially a science fiction movie that's going to cost $15 million. But his story ideas that he had for Dune, the ideas that he had for Dune to put into a movie, he put it all into graphic novels, into comic book form. So what he was going to put in Dune became the Inkle, and then became the Meta Barons, and then Techno Priests, and whatever else. And he created a whole universe called the Yodoverse. And
Yodo or Yodo?
Yodoverse. In Spanish, the J is usually silent. So I'm like, it's Alejandro Jodorowsky. So that's what I'm going. That's how he pronounces his name. That's what I'm going with. But yeah, he's a great writer, and it's amazing that a man of his generation loves graphic novels and comics so much, because he's 94 years old. He's 94 years old. He's been alive since 1929, and he just loves comic books and graphic novels so much. So all of his ideas he put in the graphic novels, and now the Inkle is being adapted by Taika Waititi, which, knowing how crazy and insane he is as a director with the type of movies he makes, his approach to filmmaking and writing does fit with the Inkle, but I hope he doesn't do too much comedy. I hope he tones down on the humor, because he can do that. He doesn't do it with Thor. With Thor, it's just straight comedy, straight ridiculous shit, but with...
Make jokes about cancer.
Yeah, I know, like...
So, what the hell
we can't even take stage 4 cancer seriously, but okay. But with the smaller budget stuff, it's more...
Oh, the hammer scene in Thor.
Oh, gosh. But, there's the smaller budget movies, it's more of like a comedy drama. There's some profound stuff like with Jojo Rabbit, some other movie I think called The Boy, and stuff like that. So hopefully with the Inkle he could tone down all. There's still humor. I mean, the Inkle is a funny graphic novel. It's has a sense of humor, but it's not a comedy. So hopefully he might tone some of that down and focus on the crazy, insane stuff, but have like a real balance. So we'll see. The movie got announced in November of 2021. And I don't know if there's any momentum now because of the writer's strike. The script I heard was completed, but we're probably going to have a director's strike in 2 months. So
that's
a lot of
DGA.
The DGA, SAG could go on strike too in July as well. So a lot of these stuff that we're talking about that we want to see probably will be delayed or not come out at all indefinitely. So, but yeah, I just want to talk about that. And you wanted to talk about Ahsoka, right?
I wanted to speak about Ashoka. So before we speak about Ashoka, we might as well touch up on the WGA, BGA, SAC, and all the other letters of writing Hollywood and employees of Hollywood. Due to the fact that cable media is a lost cause at this point, it's on its last life. Even corporate media on cable television is you see its ratings dropping, sinking slowly. Well, I wouldn't say plummeting, but
yeah,
they're a landslide.
They're being
now.
killed with ads. Yeah, just
the fact that the writers, the directors, and is going on strike now of all times is a rather if it, you have to think of it in a way that it's rather odd that they would go on strike many years later knowing that they're dealing with such situations, considering the fact that the economy has taken a shift downward for the worse.
Well, they were supposed to go on strike in 2017, but the studios at the last minute gave them what they wanted. And then there was supposed to be a strike, but it wasn't everything that they wanted. Then they were supposed to go on strike in 2020, but it got delayed because of COVID and the lockdowns. And I think the reason why the strike happened is because so many writers that used to work on network TV were writing for 22, 25 episodes and getting residuals with those episodes. And they went from making all that money to now they're on streaming and they're writing for 8 to 10 episodes and not getting any residuals. So they've gone from making a lot of money to no money, and writers, as usual, are being treated like shit. And so that's where the strike comes in.
Okay, so I want to delve into a little bit of the strike and its main objectives, its goals. Now, I know that they want better pay, they want better compensation, remuneration. However, I as much as I agree with that, there are things that I disagree with. Keeping anyone that's fired, you can't fire anyone, you have to keep them on. You have to keep more writers in the room. I'm going to disagree there and say that there has to be less writers. The less cooks you have in the kitchen, the better your dish will be. You're not going to have 30 cooks making one boiled egg.
Well, I think that's also the problem too, because most writers, it's tough to be the one person with a small writer's room or a mini room, dealing with so many episodes and so many cooks in the kitchen with the studio, networks, and everything else. So I understand why you want to have more writers to pick up the slack, because you're doing way too much. And there's been a lot of writers that have been doing that for years and years and years, and they're getting burnt out. Like what J. Michael Straczynski had to do for Babylon 5, he wouldn't wish that on anybody. But he had to do it because Warner Brothers did not want to pay for a big writer's room because they didn't have a big budget for Babylon 5. And J. Michael Straczynski was like the only writer for season 3 and season 4, and he wrote 44 episodes. And if you look at pictures of J. Michael in 1992, and then you look at him in 1997, like he goes from having color in his hair and everything. By 1997, he looks like a corpse. Like he just like bro, he just had gray wrinkles. He looked like he aged 20 years. Like he's in his 40s. And he looked like he was in his 70s. And that's why he'll tell you he would not wish that on anybody with the amount of shit that he had to do all the time. He was there day in and day out. The actors could show up at 4 o'clock in the morning and clock out at 7 p.m. He was there all day and all night writing that many episodes. It was crazy.
Now, I want to say this because the concept of having the amount of cooks that are necessary, I understand and I agree with. I'm against the fact that if you need to have a total of maybe say 10 writers to make a salad, an entree, and an appetizer, which are the 10 cooks, and I know culinary experts and people who work in the culinary field will either state maybe it's too much, maybe it's a little less. However, I'm not a professional cook, so I'm just going to use this as an example. The sufficient number of chefs in the kitchen making the meals is a necessity. However, once you go over that and then everyone's colliding with each other, it's gonna come out rather.
But that's why you need a good showrunner. You need a good showrunner to keep everybody on the same page. You know, Shonda Rhimes was the best at that when she was making her show. She had big writers' rooms and a lot of people working on all of her shows on ABC. And she always kept everything in line and everybody on the same page of where you want these characters to go and this and that. But, you know, I feel like there's also been this stuff on the mini rooms, and I got to do more research on the mini rooms. George R. R. Martin did like 2 really long blog posts on the mini room stuff, and there's some controversy with that. Apparently there's some problems with that. And he said that the writers need to win on the mini room part of the equation. If they can't get everything else, the mini rooms, they got to win on. So, you know.
I will state straightforwardly, directly. I know nothing about the mini room.
Yeah, I don't know nothing either. I'm gonna read the articles. I'm gonna read the blog posts, do the research, and see what the problem is, and then I'll get back to everybody.
As will I. This is the first time I've heard that George R. R. Martin had mentioned anything like that.
Yeah. You follow his blog. His blog is called Not a Blog, so it's not that hard to find. But you type on Google George R. R. Martin's blog, not a blog, and it's like the first two posts, the last two recent posts he posted. So yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest, I don't really follow much blogging. I'm not into social media as I used to be.
Yeah, his blog is the only blog that I read because he's actually a good writer, and the way he writes and describes stuff and explains things, he keeps things up to date with When's a Winner, a book that may never come out, but he's telling you it's coming out. I mean, it's 75% completed.
It's the suspense. The suspense is all you're paying for. It's the DLC you're not meant to pay for. That's
certainly more than what we get out of the writer of the King Killer Chronicles. I'm never going to start on those books because, as far as I'm concerned, that third book is never coming out. The writer doesn't communicate with fans, and every time his fans ask him about the book, he always blocks the fans on Twitter, which is so freaking stupid. It's like the dumbest thing you can do. Meanwhile, we got Brandon Sanderson. I'm a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. I can read his books all day because I know he's going to update me every Monday or Tuesday. Every Tuesday now, he's going to update the fans on where the books are at, how far he is. He's getting closer and closer. He lets you know on his YouTube channel. When Stormlight Archive last year in August, he told everybody it's going to be delayed by a year because this book is going to be super long and I need a lot more time to write it. That's the thing. That's great communication. He just tells you.
See, a lot of writers today, I want to differentiate Hollywood writers versus authors because that's what a book author is. A writer that writes books is a book author.
Yeah, novelist.
A novelist. They know what is necessary for the story, and they know that without their fans, that story will not succeed the way they wish it to, so they can continue making on and building upon sequels of that story.
Yeah, and Brandon is a very special case. He's a very special case. Most writers do not do the level of communication with his fans like he does. It's amazing.
Now, I want to say one thing, moving away from novelists.
Okay.
Hollywood writers, I'm concerned because I worked at a bakery many years ago, and they had a union. Now, the problem with unions is that you have unions that work and represent the constituents of that union, and you have unions who just work, receive the money, don't really do anything, but will defend the constituents for every little wrong thing. Showing up late, not being at work, leaving the job, smoking, drinking, just suddenly disappearing for 5 hours and coming back at closing, things like that.
And that's with the unions. Can you imagine without a union? It's worse. Like with game developers and people working in tech, they get the worst schedules, the worst working hours, the worst everything because they're not unionized. And then you got people in unions that are like, well, I'm dealing with the same thing. It's like, yeah, you're probably getting screwed over too.
And there's the problem. This is where I see the argument of pro-union versus anti-union. I don't want to say all unions are like that because not all unions are the same. Some unions will do the stuff for their constituents. Others will simply just sit there and collect paychecks, deposits for whatever service they may want to provide. And sometimes they'll leave their constituents out to dry. So when it comes to unions, I'm very skeptical, but I'm in between in both for and against because I've seen it firsthand. The company unfortunately did go under, so
yeah.
That's one case that I cannot use for every other issue, especially for Hollywood. What Hollywood needs is they really need to be able to go through in a manner which allows them to identify who is capable as a competent writer versus those who would be ideal for backgrounds.
And not every writer is the same.
Yeah, not every writer is the same. Sometimes we'll have a writer who is supposed to write the script for conversations between the main character or characters, and they'd be better off as the ones describing the scenes.
Yeah.
It's a key. It's no. What is the correct term? It's a pot for every soup or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's not every writer can work at the same workload. Studios and people in Hollywood wish that every writer was like J. Michael Straczynski or people in publishing, they wish every writer was like Brandon Sanderson, but it's not the case. Everybody kind of moves at their own pace, and some people are willing to take on a lot of the workload, and some people are not. And you gotta meet people where they're at, and not try to put everybody under the same umbrella. But that's one of the good things about a union is that a union can protect you, no matter what, if they're supposed to be doing their job. If you're not doing their job, then what's the point of having a union, right?
Yeah. In that case, if that union's not doing its job, protecting the employees and protecting you as a constituent, I'm
the great thing
definitely against that union. I'm against that union or unions of that caliber, that nature, because what's the point of them?
The great thing
collecting a paycheck.
Yeah, the great thing is about unions is what's supposed to be at its core. especially working in Hollywood, which is not the case for people working in tech, visual effects, whatever else. But for people that are under a union, the benefits of a union is that you're not being forced to work 18 hours a day with no days off and no holidays, no vacation, right? And so if you're working in jobs that are not union, then you can't even get a day off because it's not in the union. The company that's employing you doesn't have like a union contract to where it says you get these X amount of days off or whatever. You get these holidays off. I mean, the great thing about the SAG Awards and SAG in general for actors is that they don't have to work 18 hours a day with no days off. But even with that union, it doesn't trickle down everywhere. Like movie stars like Tom Cruise don't have to work 18 hours at all. In fact, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Right?
So when
Tom Cruise can do what he wants.
When people say, you know, it's the studio, it's the company, it's like, no, it's kind of both the studio company and it's also the union.
But if you're a big movie star, you can do what you want. Tom Hanks can do what he wants. Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington, Will Smith, even today, can still do what he wants, even with all that. But
wasn't he dropped?
No, he's still working. He's got I Am Legend lined up, the sequel that's still going, and
you mean
Aladdin 2.
For the record, when it comes to I Am Legend, the movie that Will Smith had performed in, it is entirely different from the book.
Right, the extended cut is closer to the book. That's the funny part. The theatrical cut had nothing to do with the book. The ending was stupid. The extended cut, which is where they're making the sequel based off of an ending that most people haven't even seen, which is so funny, that was closer to the book. But the thing is about unions is that for TV actors, especially in the 20th century, the 90s, TV actors were treated like shit, especially if you work for Paramount. And Star Trek shows, those actors were working 18, 20 hours a day. Like 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day. And the only times they would get a day off was Saturday and Sunday. And sometimes they had to work through the weekends. And that's for actors that are under... Yeah, I'm good. And that's for actors that are under a union. So even with a union, the TV actors can get completely screwed over, while the movie stars, the big stars like Brad Pitt or whoever else, they get treated with kid gloves. They get treated very well. In fact,
they're the third child in every family relationship. They're the third child because they're special.
Yeah, and not only that, the producers sometimes will become nervous, especially if you're a big time actor that's putting asses in the seats. If you have box office hit after box office hit after box office hit. If you're a main A-list actor and you're like late on set, like if you're not there on time, sometimes the studio producers will not even try to tell you off or tell you shouldn't be late, right? Especially if you're a big star. But on TV, it's a totally different thing. If you're late, you're fucked.
Well, yeah, because TV
like,
is...
TV, you just get fucked over.
Television has a schedule, whereas movies, they can delay it a day, 2 or 3, maybe a week, month, who knows.
Yeah, but even big budget movies have a release schedule. It needs to come out there. But it's just that they treat the A-list actors like kids, basically, and treat them with kid gloves, while the smaller, lesser-known actors on TV are treated like shit, with very few exceptions.
Now, the one thing I do want
Babylon 5, they allowed the actors to only do 12-hour shifts, with a few exceptions, because they wanted the actors to have a life. They wanted the actors to actually have a life outside of just working. But that's an exception.
Your job as an actor is not just to play pretend and make believe and whatever.
Yeah.
Your job is to go home, go to the gym, go to the supermarket, cook, clean, shop, whatever, laundry and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if you have a significant other and a partner, pay attention to them and the kids too.
Because Warner Brothers could have done overtime work for Babylon 5 if they wanted to. Warner Brothers had just as much money as Paramount back in the 90s, but they wanted their actors to have a life. So they agreed, you start filming at 7 a.m. and you're done by 7 p.m. And on a Friday night, you could film until 9 p.m., 10 p.m., and then you're off Saturday and Sunday, and that's it, And that's probably why the cast of Babylon 5 all loved each other. It's why they all got along, because they were working such a good schedule and making decent money. I mean, it was like a fucking dream job on TV.
Well, it's a dream job when you have Saturday and Sunday off, not like today where everybody has the weekend.
And it's like a 12-hour shift. It's like Monday through Friday, 12-hour shift,
Yeah.
And you could just film Friday night and have a good time. And the bar that they went to was so close to the Babylon 5 set, too. So it's like afterwards they just go get shit-faced. I mean, it was like the time of their lives, that whole 90s. But
now, I want to mention this.
All right, let's go on a different topic.
But before we do, I want to mention this. When it comes to the writer's strike, I I wouldn't say fear. I believe would be the correct word. I believe that studios are going to draw out this protest to have the writers come back, to have everyone come back, and then at the end give them what they want, but let a bunch of people go.
Yeah, I just don't want the writer's strike to go on for 6 months, because if it goes on for 6 months, a lot of writers could become homeless. I'm good. A lot of writers could become homeless. A lot of writers could lose their job. A lot of writers will lose their career, and lose their houses. They could lose their apartments.
Well,
I mean, I did not want to go on 6 months because a lot of these writers are going to suffer, and it's going to be those writers that are going to suffer, not the ones that have been around for decades, not the ones that got big ass paychecks, got exclusive 9-figure fucking deals with a streaming service like Amazon or Netflix or Apple TV Plus.
Remember that
a lot of writers are not going to get them.
Remember, Adam ruins everything.
Yeah.
And who's leading the charge? Adam himself.
Yeah, a lot of writers are not going to get those type of special privileges.
No,
so most of them are not.
I believe a lot of writers are going to be let go, and they're going to realize, the painful world is not a fairy tale that they envisioned it.
Well, I mean, going on strike is the right thing to do, but you got to be prepared for the cost. So you got to do a side hustle. If you're just writing scripts, you better start writing books, start writing novels or something. I mean that's what a lot of screenwriters do. When there's a writer's strike, just write books. Make ends meet. Write for a magazine or something. It's because JMS, using him as an example again, J. Michael Straczynski, when he went through the 6-month writer's strike in 1988, which was the longest writer's strike ever, he wrote a horror book, which got published that year, and that made ends meet for a while until the writer's strike ended and he was back on working on TV. And Brandon Sanderson makes $7 to $10 million a year writing books anyway, so
yeah.
he's not even writing scripts. So the writer's strike doesn't affect him. The books can still come out. So.
Hey, you want strike? Listen, you want to strike out.
It's good to have a side hustle. It's good to have a side hustle. Yeah, it's good to have a side hustle. Yeah.
Moving on to another topic, like you suggested.
I'm good.
You're not good. You're dying from the cough.
No, I'm
Jeez,
good.
You can't handle liquor.
I know, it's shots.
2 shots, and he's already dying.
Shot.
Oh, he's bleeding.
Yeah.
The guy from the Hunger Games. Anyways, moving on to another topic. Ahsoka.
Yeah, what about Ahsoka?
So
all 8 episodes are written, and the season's already been filmed, so that's good. Everything is good.
So Disney has one thing to tide people over for a little while, and that is Ahsoka, the Ahsoka series. I know you mentioned you're excited about the Dark Jedi, and
really,
such.
yeah.
In the in what we know was as the expanded universe, now considered Legends, now technically canon because of the Rebels mirror in a world whatever thing. Until it's proven, until it's also added in a Ahsoka series and/or the Filoni's film.
Yeah.
In the expanded universe, what was it talking about again?
Ahsoka series and the multiverse.
The multiverse.
And the expanding in the EU
universe, the Dark Jedi,
possibly being canon.
The Dark Jedi in the expanded universe were mentioned, as 2 were the Great Jedi. The acolytes, which were basically Sith trainees that were not apprentices just yet,
Yeah.
those were also canon. Now, technically, they would be canon if we're gonna go by Disney canon, which is Star Wars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Rebels, Clone Wars, and I forgot there was another show.
Well, the Great Jedi are not canon in Star Wars canon, and also in the expanding universe, whether or not they were canon is also among debate among Star Wars fans too. Mm-hmm. But the Dark Jedi are officially canon. They are here. They're introducing Ahsoka, and I love the Padawan braid that the girl has in the trailer. That looks so awesome. It looks so cool. And Dave Filoni wrote all 8 episodes, so it has to be good because this is his baby. So Ahsoka is his creation with George Lucas, and all the characters in Rebels are his creation. So it's got to be great. I'm hoping it's going to be great. It just looks so great.
I mentioned earlier off camera that I'm a little concerned because because some parts of the VFX kind of look a little worrisome.
Well, the mistakes they make are in the trailer. Hopefully they can fix them unless there's a reason that... Because I've seen the trailer so many times. You look at Ahsoka, There's only one shot in the trailer where she has both of her lightsabers ignited. The first part is when she's trying to dig a hole, and the second part is at the end of the trailer. There are moments in the shots where she should have both the lightsabers ignited, but she has only one lightsaber ignited. So that could be a VFX problem, and they could fix that by the time the show comes out.
It's not only that, in one of the trailers that I saw, like one that came out 4 weeks ago, where she has lightsabers on the ground and uses the force to spin them, and then she's falling on that platform. It felt a little slow, and I'm a little worried about that.
I think, well, I'm fine with that, because you could say that she's using the force to slow her descent. I'm cool with that, but, I mean, other than that, the show looks good, and not every MCU installment has bad VFX. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 looked gorgeous. I was surprised how great that movie looked, and but Ant-Man looked bad. Ant-Man 3 CGI looked terrible, and
Kang has become the immortal meme of Marvel.
Yeah, the CGI didn't look good there. The CGI didn't look good last year. I mean, Black Panther 2 had some good CGI, but there was some moments in all three of those movies last year that did not good. Like Thor Love and Thunder CGI looked terrible. Doctor Strange sequel, some of the CGI looked bad too, but you know.
No, I want to mention that in regards to the VFX, who was the lady in charge again? I forget her name because I just don't care about any individuals that are stationed by Marvel, Disney, or...
I forgot her name, but she's gone. And Disney settled with her. I don't know what amount they settled.
I guess she was gonna drag something into court, or she was gonna say something that
was gonna drag on
something.
forever, and Disney can't afford litigation that goes on forever right now.
Oh no, it's not like that.
Because their money is getting tight.
I don't think Disney has the means and capacity to endure the brunt of litigation.
The money is getting tight.
There's something in there. And the money is getting tight. Their purse strings are still a little bit loose, but from what I hear, it's tightening up even more. There's talk about...
They've been canceling so many shows off of Disney Plus. It's crazy.
No, they're copying Netflix. Well, Netflix is also copying HBO Max. HBO Max is leading the charge. Look at that.
Yeah, they finally made a profit. They finally had a profitable quarter. After all that money David Sadler had to save by canceling this, getting rid of that, taking this off, has led to a profitable quarter. And, you know, it's because HBO makes quality TV, and they focus on quality over quantity, while Netflix does quantity over quality, and people are getting burned out. Even though people are subscribing for the shows they want to watch, they rarely get a hit that has great quality, that is like a phenomenon like Wednesday and Stranger Things, you know, or Bridgerton.
I want to say that I'm really glad Jenna Ortega is the one playing Wednesday.
Yeah, she's
really bringing Wednesday to life.
And I love that she corrects the writing of all the terrible writers.
Apparently, some of the writers believe she was going to do something that's not in
Wednesday's character. She changed that. And she also changed the dialogue in this stupid love triangle that she did not like. She was like, Wednesday's not supposed to be in a love triangle. Even I felt that way watching the show. I was like, this love triangle doesn't really fit, but whatever. She changed a lot of the dialogue and made it better. So, you know, and since the show is a hit and she's taking all the credit, she's going to be more and more in charge as time goes on. And she could be a real diva going forward, but as long as the show's good and she's making it better by changing all the writers' dialogue and writing, who knows? Who knows? Who cares? Yeah, let her be a diva. Let her be a young J-Lo. Let her be a young J-Lo, okay? Let her be a young...
She'd be the much better J-Lo.
No, let her be a young Jennifer Lopez. Let her be a diva. And just tell the writers...
No, I wouldn't want her to be Jennifer Lopez. Oh my God, Jennifer Lopez is hated by her own people in the Bronx.
Okay, yeah, but... Let's let Jenna Ortega, put those writers in their place, because you got too many incompetent writers just writing.
There are a lot of middle school graduate
way too much content
writers that just really...
And that's the problem with having too much content, is that all the good writers are busy working, and so you got to settle for the shitty ones. And then you're flipping a coin and you're playing Russian roulette, right? Maybe this writer will be great, maybe this writer will be terrible, who knows? But that's money down the drain.
If you're gonna play Russian roulette, actually play Russian roulette. Play with a blanket at least. You know that person's not playing anymore.
Like AMC took a chance for Breaking Bad on that writer, Vince. Let me look up his name. AMC took a huge chance on that guy, and they got so lucky, and it turned out to be such a masterpiece of a show. I think it's Vince Gilligan.
I believe it is Vince Gilligan. I could be wrong, unless I'm thinking of something else.
But yeah, AMC got really lucky with him. And with The Walking Dead, it was the opposite. They wanted to do too much studio interference, and they messed that show up. Yeah, Vince Gilligan, he was the creator. But they got very lucky with him.
The problem with The Walking Dead is after it reached a certain point where it was almost on par with how the comics proceeded, they deterred so far from it.
Well, they kept dragging and dragging. I think what happened was AMC fell in love with the ratings, and they were like, we did not know we could make a show that could be this much of a huge hit. And so they got rid of the original writer and showrunner, and originally he had a 5-season arc. And then they were going to do other spin-offs. And they should have just done that. Instead, they had a show that went on for too long. It was great, and then it went to shit. And then it became great again. And it ended well. The series finale was good, but you were around for too long. You should have done what, what's his name? The director, the creator, not Vince Gilligan, The Walking Dead. The original creator. He wrote and directed The Shawshank Redemption.
Shit, I can't remember name. I'm going blanks.
Because he got replaced by another showrunner, and then he got replaced by Scott Gimple, who started off good and it really fucked up. Frank Darabont. Frank Darabont developed the show. He created the show. And Frank Darabont had like a 5-season arc. And then AMC, alright, I'm good. And then AMC completely shit the bed and got rid of him. And then they screwed up the story by killing off Carl, which is so stupid in season 8. That was one of the worst things. It destroyed the story. It pisses off the comic book fans and it pisses off the show viewers. And then people started giving up on the show in season 8 and just started checking out. Because I'm like, you're just fucking up the whole story. But I stuck to it because I skipped season 8. I didn't watch season 8 at all. I was like, fuck all this. This is terrible. I'm not watching. And then I came back for season 9. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm loving this. This is great. And then it got better and it was great. But people just checked out.
Like for instance, if you want to have a show go on, you need to make it engaging. You need to make it where people are excited and looking forward to what comes next. Like House. House did well up until the actor, I forget his name. He quit, I believe, because his reason was that the terms, the words, the names of diseases and medications were becoming more and more complex and complicated that he just didn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
Thus, for House fans, our hearts were shattered when House came to an end. Anyways, but speaking of Ahsoka and Star Wars, I have high hopes. I don't want them to have Ahsoka defeat Thrawn and that's the end of the Empire for good, because it just, what's the point of having Thrawn in a series alive and proving himself as a character who he is?
Well, based on the writers and what's been said, it looks like the end of Ahsoka will be like The Empire Strikes Back. So I think whatever Thrawn's going to do, he's going to be successful. And this will be a very different Star Wars show from the previous shows in tone and how it's going to end. I think Dave Filoni knows what he's doing.
I'm hoping that it's dark. It is that dark underworld. Well, not the dark underbelly underworld of Star Wars. No. The dark, more dark, mature side of Star Wars that fans have always thought of but never seen.
Right.
That's what I hope. And I hope this because of a number of reasons. One is that you'll actually get to see where the Jedi and the Sith draw the line, truly. Because the Jedi and the Sith, if I know people say the light is good, the dark is bad, but if the light uses the dark, they turn bad, and the dark turns the light, it gets convoluted. Your mind, right. You get lost. The Jedi and the Sith are two sides of one coin. How you choose to wield the Force, and I know there's an argument made about how the Force is, it's based on its users, on the wielder's drive of the emotion to why they're using it. You're distracted.
Right. No. I know what you're saying. I hear you.
Now, so I'm hoping. Excuse me. I don't want to say I wanna. Whatever that song was. Whatever that song was. I don't care.
Right.
I want to see the parts of Star Wars where Ahsoka is a Jedi or former Jedi, because now she's no longer bound by the rule of peace and the chains. She's able to follow her own path, her own destiny, choose what she wishes to do. There are in expanded universe, legends, canon, in another dimension, there was a Sith Lord who did no evil, who killed no one. He just learned the ways of the dark side. He became so knowledgeable, so powerful. He returned to his home planet after leaving to better the lives of his people. I want to see where Ahsoka goes and how far she's willing to go as a character, as an individual, and as somebody that's able to wield the Force. Also, in regards to that one comment I made about that one species, that one race that is able to wield the Force, they're not wield the Force, that they're able to they're able to see visions of the future, things like that, but they don't wield the Force, but they have access through the Force.
Right.
Without actually having the Force.
Right.
They're the Voss. Voss.
Yeah.
That is the race. It's kind of.
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
It's like mystics and doctors, herbal.
Were they ever in Clone Wars? Were they ever introduced?
I don't recall if the Voss were ever introduced in the Clone Wars. I do know that they are in the era of the Old Republic Sith Empire. So
Okay.
it's most likely a species.
Yeah, and the Sith and things from expanding universe are canon from the Sith Empire. They got the Thousand Year War.
I wonder the hyperdrive wars.
Thousand Years of Darkness. Army of Darkness.
I'm curious.
They didn't make Darth Bane, which means Darth Bane. Darth Bane isn't really canon yet, but they did mention Army of Darkness, the Jedi, the Sith's army. So if you got all that, Darth Bane could show up, and I wouldn't mind them getting the original writer to write a Darth Bane trilogy, and maybe do it better, because the original trilogy I did not love at all. Like, it started off really, really good, and then the second and third book, he's like, I am super evil. And then by those books, he's like, I'm so evil, I can control this or that. It was like, I felt like Darth Bane wasn't really much of a character anymore. He went from being a really complex, cool character that becomes evil to just being just evil, almost. Like, almost completely evil.
Basically, it's basically Darth Vader, and then you have Kylo Ren, who's just a wannabe copy of Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was like,
to be evil.
Yeah, it was like, the second and third book could have been better.
I don't mind if he rewrites the second and third book, and leaving the first book as it is, because it is a masterpiece.
First book is great. Yeah, I love
it's a masterpiece. I love it. And the thing is, when you try to recreate the original, you will always somehow fuck it up.
Yeah. Well, Timothy Zahn's done a good job with his Thrawn.
Timothy Zahn is incredibly...
His Thrawn books are pretty good, in canon.
See, I want them to reintroduce... I forget the name of the... I don't have the other phone on me. But the Separatist battle cruiser that they had. Yeah, the Separatist battle cruiser that they had. The ones, if you ever saw in episode 3 that I was shooting at, it's not that little flat one. That looks like half of an egg. The other one that looks like it's a toothpick with a birch beak and a fin on the end. I want them to bring the Separatist ships back, reintroduce more droids, because yes, the Separatist army was disabled. However, there were many elements and areas where the factories still remained operational. So you had a little private military force somewhere in the world making their droids. I would love that.
Right.
However, let's be honest. Unless this is introduced in a means that's proper, that's done right, fans aren't really going to be pleased about it.
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, to get the original writer, he could make some changes to fit with canon, because Star Wars canon just got bigger. Because when they rebooted everything and said expanding universe is just legends, and now we got canon, they took 10,000 years of history and then shrunk it down to 6,000 years. And 10 years later, it's now 25,000 years.
Wait.
So we went from 10,000 to 6,000, and now we're going to 25,000.
So where did the other 19,000 years come from?
And the ninth, whatever's going to happen 25,000 years before Anakin Skywalker shows up, that movie is going to be made and created by James Mangold, whenever he's done with the Bob Dylan biopic, and when the writer's strike finally is over.
Mangold or Mangold?
Mangold.
Okay.
Mangold.
I always thought it was Manigault. I don't know why.
James Mangold, who is a good director. He's not great. He's hit or miss. He's made some really good movies, and there are movies that are not great. Like, he made 310 to Yuma, which was a really good remake, but like the original, the ending doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, the ending, the 310 to Yuma, the remake, and the original movie don't make any sense. And the original movie is not good. The remake was way better because you had two great actors in Russell Crowe and Christian Bale. But the ending doesn't make any sense. And the Wolverine was not a good movie, but it had some great sequences. Logan was amazing. Logan, I love.
Logan was done beautifully.
Logan was a fantastic movie.
It was a great way for Hugh Jackman to end
that character, timeline,
to
end that story. Yeah, it was great. Of course, he's coming back. You know, Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool 3 with Wolverine. And
I wonder if we're gonna get the annoying Brocon thing going on, like Deadpool needs Wolverine's attention 24/7. It's like and just Wolverine like, I hate you, go away, shut up. I wonder if we get that.
Yeah, it's like I just love how they have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman pretending to hate Ryan Reynolds, and like their teaser for the movie was just them being in a cabin working on the movie. And you have Hugh Jackman in the background who's like fucking miserable being around Ryan Reynolds. It's just so funny. Although I did love the original story idea that Ryan Reynolds was pitching to Disney where he doesn't make Deadpool 3, he makes Deadpool 4. And the first 30 minutes of the movie, they're recapping everything that happened in Deadpool 3 that led into Deadpool 4. I was like, that could work. That would be great. I would love that.
You would never end the series with a third film that sucks because you would have a film that's going to do worse than
that would have been so great. Yeah, because third movies usually suck. Until recently. Recently, we've gotten some third installments that are good.
Very recently.
Now we're getting fifth installments that are good. Like Scream. Scream 5 and 6 are the best Scream movies since the first movie.
I'm gonna say this.
It's like wow.
I'm gonna say this. That one trailer for Scream where she's walking towards the closet with a gun pointed straight out.
Yeah. It's like,
why?
Just shoot the bastard. Just
shoot the fucking door.
Yeah, but you know, the reason why Scream 6 was so good is because they introduced all these new characters that are very diverse. But they introduced these characters through the legacy characters, and you learn to love these new characters through the legacy characters. And so when the sixth movie comes out, it's mostly focused on the new, younger, diverse characters. But they all are well written. They got good dialogue. They're really cool characters. They fit within the entire universe, it's just really fun. It's not doing political anything. It's no agenda. It's just a slasher horror movie where you get some awesome freaking kills, some really cool violence. Yeah, there's no agenda. It's just really cool violence.
There's no evil. There's no writer with a long mustache.
Yeah,
twirling it like.
It's so cool, and it's not. And the women characters are not made to be better than the male characters to make the male characters look bad. Some of the male characters are really cool too. Even the boyfriend who only has like one facial expression. One of the main characters, the older sister, sleeping with this guy who's her neighbor. He has like one facial expression throughout the whole movie, but the character's mad cool. Like he's a really cool character.
Like, dude, what's with your face? Like, you got a problem with that.
I know, but you got like a female character who's a killer and a psychopath too. So it doesn't like try to make the women look like saints, which we see a lot in new media. That's really silly. But,
all right, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, don't stick in crazy.
Yeah, but you know it's good to see that because even though men have most of the political and economic power and start a lot of the wars and stuff like that throughout human history, at the same time women are not saints either. There are women that do terrible things too, and so we're seeing a lot.
Carmilla Bathory we can use as an example.
Right, there are plenty of women in positions of power, and women are not in positions of power who have committed crimes, who've done terrible things, and we see in a lot of media they want to make the women out to be like saints and the men are terrible. Right. They want the
wait. One's French, one's brother. Never mind.
No, Queen Elizabeth's aunt.
Oh my God! For you,
Sister Mary. No, that was the half sister, right? I mean, she was a terrible queen. Oh my God, that was the worst queen England ever had. Actually,
listen. Marie Antoinette in the Tight Moon series.
But speaking of queens, England usually does better with queens than kings. But Queen Mary, Queen of Scots, was fucking awful. She was trash. But Queen Elizabeth was great.
I don't want to say anything.
No, Queen Elizabeth was a great queen. And what's her name? Victoria. Queen Victoria was great too.
Was Queen Med the queen?
Med?
Med. MED.
I have no idea, but it must have. But
I will hold my
no,
tongue
look,
there.
the reason why they'll say England they do better under Queens because under Queens they made the most like technological and economic progress in the last 500 years under Queen's reign in comparison to the Kings. like Kings made the most progress 1,000 years ago. But what I'm saying is that there are women who do terrible things, and so it's cool to see in Scream 6 like not everybody was a saint, and that was pretty cool.
So I want to mention one thing because now Disney's gonna go 25,000 years into the past.
Yeah,
I want to mention this to a lot of Star Wars fans that are sticking with Disney Star Wars as well, and Star Wars fans that stick to episodes 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because the last 25,000 years is now canonized.
It's becoming canon.
It's becoming canon.
And when I love what James Mangold said, he says, I want to make this Star Wars movie like the Bible. I want to make it like King of Kings and biblical epics that were made in the 20th century. I'm like, that is the best mentality to have when you're making a movie about spiritual people like the Jedis and the beginning of the Force and the earlier remnants of the dark side. Like, you got to make it like you're making scripture, like it's biblical stuff. I mean, that is, his mentality is the right mentality. So hopefully under Bob Iger, the movie comes out.
I want to say this, though.
Hopefully Kathleen Kennedy be like, oh, wait, we didn't agree to this. You're fired. You know, let's not do this. Let's not do this rinse and repeat shit.
I hope that Kathleen Kennedy is gone by then. She's under her.
Nobody wants her job. That's the problem. That's why they haven't replaced her. They should have replaced her, but nobody wants the job. Who wants to work at Lucasfilm?
Who wants to? It's been politicized. It's become one side. It's become such.
Who wants to work at Lucasfilm? Who wants to make Star Wars movies? Because it's not even the political stuff. It's like, who wants to make a Star Wars movie?
A lot of fans.
And let's say it sucks, and you gotta deal with the worst online backlash that could make you want to commit suicide. Like, no one wants to deal with it. As much as I love Star Wars, the Star Wars fandom is, in my opinion, one of the worst and most toxic fandoms ever. Like, the way they treat creatives is the worst. Like, George Lucas will tell you, everything he did was hated on until he finally just threw in the towel. He says, I can't do this shit no more. And like
he sold it because
he knew his story ideas were going to be hated on, and he was going to be hated on because the story about the sequel trilogy was all going to be about the midichlorians, the origins of the midichlorians, and the origins of the Force. He knew that everybody was going to hate it, and he was like, I'm just going to give it to Disney and let them deal with the bullshit. But yeah, it's just, you know, who wants that smoke? How many people want that smoke working at Lucasfilm?
I would take it. I would take it. Star Wars fan here. I would take it. Disney hire me. Disney. You don't even need to listen to a lot of fans. I understand a lot.
The Star Wars writers for books have it the easiest. Like, if they come out, I remember when the High Republic first got backlash when it was announced because it looked SJW. Like, it had designs and stuff going on.
Wait, before you continue, I want to apologize. That's not what I should have said. I should have said you don't need to listen to a lot of the criticism from fans, because fans, when it comes to Star Wars, they kind of backtrack a bit often. And you have those who say they've never backtracked. A lot of Star Wars fans, this is a fact, a lot of Star Wars fans have backtracked on a lot of things. The fans of the original trilogy have backtracked, and they have opened up to the prequel trilogy. And they will accept the prequel trilogy, not Disney sequel. So let me correct my stance on that, because that was an incorrect and ignorant stance.
Yeah, and there's the prequels. It doesn't mean the prequels are great. You know, it just means that there were Star Wars movies that were just as bad to the fans or just as polarizing. And so I look back on what came before with a better view or revisionist history, because when you see something that's worse, it makes you look back on what was bad and be like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It's like, well, it still is. Like, Star Trek Enterprise is still not a good show. Just because Discovery is a fucking mess doesn't make Enterprise a good show. Both shows are not good. It's like, but...
Why
didn't bring the food out to you? All that time?
Oh boy, you just...
No, I'm gonna need fresh hot onion rings.
No, you got his wife in trouble. Oh man, Marion's in trouble.
Oh well.
But anyways,
I'm not gonna comment any further on that. Oh well.
But back on topic, the High Republic, when it was first announced and they showed the character designs and everything, it was called SJW because it looked SJW. with the character designs, what was going on. So people that were a bit upset or there was backlash. And then the books came out, and the books are well written, have great writing, great world building, great everything else.
What was the book?
You got Claudia Gray doing the best shit she's done in like a long time. And the High Republic is New York Times bestseller after New York Times bestseller after New York Times bestseller. And now the High Republic is beloved by Star Wars fans. And now those same fans of the books want to see all those characters in live action, and they're coming out with The Acolyte, which is a High Republic series that takes place towards the end of the High Republic, exactly 50 years before the events of the Star Wars prequel trilogy, Anakin Skywalker.
Which was the story with the Rock? That was the pilot. That's the starting, right?
I think so, yeah. But I gotta read all the books.
I'm not touching that one. A rock. It's not that a rock can't be a species. It's just the idea that the way things were named and how everything was retconned.
Yeah, and people also like the kids show that's for High Republic too. The one that just came out May 4th. So
when I say,
kids are enjoying that.
So when I say you have to take a lot of consideration or not to mind a lot of the criticisms, because Star Wars fans are entirely unified on their view. And it's not that I'm disrespecting Star Wars fans. It's that a lot of Star Wars fans are, I hated it, and then 5 years later, I like it actually.
I know. I mean, that kid who was in Phantom Menace was bullied in school. He was bullied in middle school for being in that movie. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, if I was in a Star Wars movie, you better believe I'm letting everybody know about it. I'm going to be bragging about that shit till the day I die. I don't care if you hated the movie or not. Okay? I would be bragging about that shit. For him, it was like hell on earth. He was being bullied by kids every day for being in that, what they call that stupid, terrible Star Wars movie that came out. Like, and he was under so much stress. It broke him mentally, and now he's dealing with schizophrenia because of how terrible his childhood was. It's so sad. He's also camera phobic too, because George Lucas made him do 60 interviews a day. So now he's scared shitless of cameras. It's like he's got camera phobia. It's crazy.
What is it, photophobia or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
I'll look into what that's called, but fear of cameras is something that is very, very hard to even manage, because there are cameras in everything: phone, computer, iPad, on the bank telling, the ATMs, all that stuff has cameras, security cameras. So I imagine he's somewhere where there's a lot of space, distance from other people.
Yeah, but you know, it's tough. But on topic, High Republic is beloved now. When I saw Star Wars Celebration this year in London, that whole thing was freaking packed. And in those panels for High Republic, there was a huge crowd, and they were just cheering on all the writers, talking about the characters and everything. It was so amazing, and seeing Claudia Gray get all the praise that she gets, because Claudia Gray is the best Star Wars writer writing for Star Wars canon, hands down. I love Timothy Zahn, I love all these writers, but Claudia Gray is numero uno, and lucky for me, she said Lost Stars 2, the sequel to Lost Stars, will be coming out eventually. So I'm happy about that. I am so looking forward to that.
I'm gonna go. Don't say numero uno twice, please.
And then, you know, if Lost Stars 2 is coming out and it's a sequel to Lost Stars, huh?
I said, please don't say numero uno otra vez. Don't say numero uno again.
What, Lost Stars?
No, numero uno. Don't say it again. Please. Don't say it again. Just say number one. Stick to number
I
one.
like saying numero uno. Yeah,
the way it came
it
out.
sounded bad. Yeah, I know. It's terrible
Spanish.
Spanish.
Oh my God, no.
My Spanish is the worst. But with Lost Stars eventually coming out, it sounds like it could come out in 2025 because Star Wars New Jedi Order is going to be taking place 15 years after the sequel trilogy, and Lost Stars took place during the Empire era, leading into the end of the original trilogy. So if there's like a 30-year time jump, it could be about the two love interests who are fully grown, and maybe they got kids, maybe they're still together, and maybe they're fighting against the First Order, and maybe they could do like a time jump, and they're like alive during the New Jedi Order, hearing about all these Jedis that are coming in. And that's the cool thing about the New Jedi Order, is that what's cool about this movie with Rey is that magic and the Force is coming back, and it's going to be like at an all-time high. You know, because it was at an all-time high with the New Republic, but not as high as it could have been. And the First Order came back, and it's like we're just going to get rid of all this stuff. We're going to be exactly like the Empire. Be only have the one Force user working for us, kill all the other Force users, and destroy democracy and all this other stuff. But now they're gone, and we got the new Jedi Order. So magic in the Force can be at all-time high, like in the prequels, and even before that in the High Republic.
There's no magic this time. It's only the Force.
Right, but it is like magical. It is like a magical thing. But it's like it's going to be at an all-time high with Rey trying to recreate the Jedi Order. So I want to see that. I want to see what that's like. How do people react like that? Because you're going to have people in the galaxy that are going to be skeptical because they've never seen it. They're basically going to be atheists, and then they're going to see it for the first time. Be like, oh wow, this is real. Like this is real. This power is real. Like I had no faith, and now I know it's true. Like Han Solo going from not believing in it to believing it. You know.
I'll just block the camera.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It'd be really cool. So
yeah, it will. Now, there's one more thing I want to mention. I want to touch up on. The 25,000 years because it is being canonized. Palpatine is not the strongest person anymore.
right.
Palpatine. I know. A lot of people say, "Oh, he can open up. He can make wormholes." I'm like, if he can make wormholes, why did he build a Death Star to fight the rebellion? He could just destroy them all in one blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I say Palpatine is not the strongest is because you have people like Darth Bashade, or I'll remember his name later, Darth Nihilus, and so on and such, who fed off life with the Force. Darth Bashade would eat literally the whole. He would eat the very life of planets. He just absorbed.
Well, we don't know that character is canon yet.
Well, if Knights of the Old Republic remake comes out and has Darth Bashade, the Immortal Emperor, then the Immortal Emperor, Darth Bashade, Valkorion.
Wait, was he in Knights of the Old Republic? No. He was in the Old Republic game.
Star Wars Old Republic, he's in it. I know he's mentioned it.
Yeah,
he's brought up,
the online multiplayer one.
Yes.
Right, but the thing is that multiplayer game, a lot of those stories aren't canon yet.
Well, technically they are canon, as we said, through the mirror, through the world,
right.
In the mirror, whatever it's called.
But he has to be introduced. That's the thing.
Oh.
He has to be canonized within canon. He can't just if he's mentioned in Knights of the Republic video game, then sure, fuck, he's canon because they did say the new Knights of the Republic remake will be canon. It's not Legend like the Xbox version. The PS5 version will be canon.
You know, speaking of canon, there's a nice canon model or aged replica of a cannon somewhere in a park. I believe it's not Brooklyn. I'm not sure where. I think it's Monument now or something like that.
Cool.
But
yeah, I mean, so we'll see. I mean, we know that Darth Revan is canon, and that's before they announced the game.
I wonder if
because when they did the whole Sith Empire and all those different Sith groups, groups within groups, with Rise of Skywalker, I mean. The last 30 minutes of the movie I liked, even though it was a terrible movie. The part where they were naming all of the Sith and they mentioned Revan, they mentioned this Sith Lord and that Sith Lord, that was cool. That was a way of establishing these Sith Lords as canon, but we are not exploring their stories yet. That's coming down the road. And so, and then 2 years later they announced the Knights of the Republic game. I'm like, okay, Darth Revan is being introduced now.
I want to mention this. That whole thing where I have all the Sith in me and you have to kill me so you can inherit them, that is bullshit that they're all gone.
And they didn't even follow through on that. And they're like, well, she killed him, so she should be on the dark side. And it's like, oh no, because all the Jedis helped her and put all their powers in her. So all these Jedis are now a part of Rey. So Rey is not just a Skywalker, she's a Palpatine, she's an Ahsoka, she's a Mace Windu, she's this, she's that, she's this. She is the ultimate, most powerful fucking thing ever. It makes no sense. Like J.J. Abrams is such a shitty writer and director. He established something and then he negates it with no explanation. Like the guy's a fucking idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
It's so sad.
Sorry. He is a freaking idiot. He is a fracking idiot. I mean, he is such a terrible director.
I'm going to say this right now. J.J. Abrams should not be allowed to make any more Star Wars or touch Star Wars or anything.
Or Star Trek. Stay away from Star Trek.
Keep him away from anything. If you want him to direct something, make sure it's an original series that he can fuck up. He can
let him screw up his own stuff. Let him screw up his own stuff.
Don't even hire him, Hollywood. It's not worth it. You might as well get Michael Bay to do the damn thing.
Yeah, let him, because J.J. Abrams is not a good director. He's a terrible writer. He did good with The Force Awakens, but that's the thing. He's good at, starting stuff. He's terrible at following through. he can begin things and then he messes things up. It's different with the TV shows because with Lost, he directed episodes in the first season, but he wasn't the showrunner. The showrunner was Damon Lindelof. Damon Lindelof was the showrunner, and Carlton Cuse were the showrunners. J.J. Abrams went on to do Mission Impossible 3 and then Star Trek.
So I want to mention this. Now that we've covered these subjects and these were not listed, these were not planned in any way, I want to thank you all for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm Brian J's Nerd Talk. Thank you so much.
Please feel free to leave a like, a thumbs up.
Yeah, like, thumbs up,
and
subscribe.
And we'll look forward to seeing you on our next video, which will
hopefully be Wednesday. Hopefully Wednesday, yeah.
And in my case, if I upload a video, if I ever get to uploading those videos that I recorded, whenever those are uploaded.
All right.
Please
So
leave a
talk to
like,
you later.
subscribe, follow, and if I don't see you, I will miss you. Just
right.
like Anna Posh says. Have a good one, guys.
All right. Live long and prosper.
May the force be with you.